Have you ever wrapped up a sales call feeling like it went really well? Clients nodding, asking questions, sharing their pains. Only when you follow up, crickets. Nothing. No follow up emails, no decision, no contact, just gone. We'll talk about that today and how to prevent it and eliminate it. I'm Brian, founder of That Business Trainer, creator of the sales framework, where we help you sell ethically, especially if you're an introvert who doesn't want to appear sleazy or use all sorts of cheesy sales tactics. Um, People always find it amazing. We never get ghosted. I find it such a silly term. I didn't even know about it until I went to various companies and they talk about how they get ghosted all the time. It, when now that I recognize it for what it is, it's simply an indicator of you doing or not doing something. It is not an indicator of your client's position on where they stand with you at all. It's simply an indicator of something we've done or not done. And once you understand that, it's pretty simple, not easy, simple to fix. If you're an introvert, like me, who pours your heart into these ethical, value driven conversations, I can imagine that the ghosting hits extra hard. It would make you question everything. Was I too pushy? Did I miss something? So let's break down why this happens to, and to be fair, to even the most genuine pros. But there are some subtle signals that you can spot that will help you turn these potential ghosts into loyal clients. And so stick around. This could save your next deal. So let's name the problem. You're not alone. In my years of training and working with sales reps, just like you, I've seen the pattern and I've seen it kill up to 70% of their leads. And why? Well, it's the unspoken doubts bubbling up. Clients aren't rejecting you, they're protecting themselves from that nagging, is this worth it feeling? And as ethical sellers, we hate high pressure closes, but if we don't guide them through those doubts, they default to inaction. And most times, what I will see is we've ended the call without a next step, a concrete next step, where it's in the diary and committed, not something you heard with happy ears that said, oh, I've got a follow up. I'm talking a real commitment on both sides to the next steps. And we will go into this in depth a lot in the sales framework, but I just want to do a high level to help you understand where this comes from. Remember, you don't want that pit in your stomach after a great call that goes nowhere. I can remember working with, these are in early days, working with some sales reps who were customizing proposals for clients who were absolutely perfect on paper and connecting on values, humor was there, everything, and then silence. Well, it turns out the signals were all missed. And once you learn to read that room and read it ethically, your closing rate and their closing rate jumped from 20% to over 50% with the same amount of leads. No scripts, no sleeves, just clarity. And that's really what we want for you. So the value echo, that's where you're repeating the words back. But I'm sorry, that's where they're repeating the words back, but without excitement. They say like, yeah, that does sound helpful, or yeah, that does sound good. And we hear it with a lot happier ears. So they didn't say, oh my gosh, that would change everything for us. They just agreed with your enthusiasm and your words that it sounded helpful, but the excitement, the connection wasn't there. They're not fully bought in. And you need to recognize that. And remember, we don't have many rules, but if you see it, feel it, or hear it, you've got to find a way to say it. Well, you can fix some of that by asking, hey, what part of that hits home most for you right now? Or what was it about we just said that you think would be helpful? It helps pull out the real why without probing, and you continue to deepen that connection. And really, all we want to do is make sure by the end of the call that we've deepened the connection enough that we have a next action that you and they will agree to. There's also the future fade. where they talk big picture dreams, but they dodge the specifics on how they're going to get there or next steps. We'd love to grow, but you can help them with this by talking about, hey, if we started this project, and then put your time frame in, if we started this project this week, what would be the first thing you'd want to see? Uh, It starts helping them that show them that you're the guide. You're not just another talker. And then there's, of course, the hesitation hold, long pauses after your questions, or shifting of topics over to logistics. Well, that's fear. And you need to be empathetic to it, but you have to recognize that that's what's happening. And, saying things like, hey, I get it. Committing to this feels big, especially if you've been burned before. I was just working with a client who had spent a fortune on similar stuff that didn't work. Imagine where we have to be with what we're proposing to help them overcome that. But the first thing we have to do is recognize and let them know it's okay. Hey, we understand this is going to be a big commitment. We understand you've been burned. So get out the concerns. What's going to hold them back? How do we get them to overcome that? Um, you want to make sure it's about ensuring seamless fit and build the trust that closes that gap. And then when you end your call, every meeting, every conversation, you want to have a definitive next step. Now, in what we teach, we often talk about that up front, where we talk about what we're going to be doing, get them to agree with our contract of moving forward, and then we can put timescales to that and commit to what those steps will be. But at any point in any conversation, before you wrap up, and I see this happen a lot, people get to the end of a call, they have 10 seconds left. Yeah, we'll connect next week and send me an invite. You want to make sure that this is a firm commitment. Hey, here's what we're going to do on our next connection, and make sure that we're all in agreement on that, and then get a time frame on that. They might have to find something. You can't have a call next week if they still have to get to the CEO and the CEO is on holiday. So we want to talk through all of that about our next call, just like we would on an initial call. Is there anything that could get in the way of us not having this call next week? Those little things will help you stop getting ghosted. Um, People ghost you when they can. And if you are having these solid conversations and pushing back a little on it, even though this is what we hate to do when we're introverted, we don't like confrontation. So we sort of let things go and hope they'll be better. I'm telling you now, it won't be. So these are skills and things we help you work on. But if you spot the signals early during the call, you can stop all this ghosting before it starts. So when you do get to the end of the conversation, you're able to have this conversation about a next step and exactly what it's going to be and what form that's going to take. Um, I'm a big fan of asking the client how they want to communicate. Just because you like email doesn't mean they like email. Just because you love being on the phone doesn't mean they like the phone. Just because you like messaging and texting and chat doesn't mean they do. So part of this is, and again, it's all in our um, sales framework, is to help you with that kind of a conversation, establishing up front what's this communication going to look like. And again, it can change over time. We might need initial calls, and then we might go to follow-ups by email or text. There is no right way. There's the way that you and your client agree on, but getting them to agree is part of it. You know, you want calls, and imagine yourself there. Imagine calls where clients are after you for the next step because they see you as the ethical partner that they've been missing. And if that's the kind of shift you're craving, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of this. Drop a comment. What's your ghosting story? And in the meantime, we're going to help make your calls unignorable. And look in the description below. If there is a link for one of our trainings, we'd love to see you there. Talk to you soon. Happy selling. See you next time.
Money.